We have a really special guest tonight. Mike Wells is here with us. He is an amazing, amazing facilitator at Circles. Mike is super smart and he's so feeling and he has such a high level of empathy. It's just, he's a beautiful soul. So I'm really glad he's going to be here with us, you guys, for 2 weeks. So I'm going to soak up every bit of information, advice. Hi, Ray. Welcome to our master class. And Hope, oh my God, nice to see you. Um, so, Mike, why don't we go ahead and get started? Mike, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and, what your specialties are, and just, kind of lead us into kind of how you want to do this group tonight and take it away.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Anna. Oh, okay. So my name is Mike Wells. I am a somatic experiential learning facilitator. I essentially help folks get a better sense of themselves through mental, physical, emotional conversation. And I use conversation in the broadest sense. It's curiosity and exploration. It's communication in the expression and reception sense. And my rooms are really focused in on giving us a playground to play in. And the playground featuring like the little apparatuses of questions to be able to learn more about ourselves, what shows up with us in the present, and how we can use our minds to track patterns and seek causes in our pasts so that we can respond better to the present for a healthier future. Yeah, that sounds good.
That's great. Yes, it's perfect. It's perfect.
And so this room is, what if the season is the reason?
Yes. Tell us more about that.
Okay, I have another little thing I can post in there for, just as what that was speaking to.
Yes, it's very cryptic. It's very cryptic, but it's very telling.
So I've heard this saying a lot coming up. It was people are in your life for a reason or a season. And so, and I heard it from enough Black churchgoers that I thought that it was a church thing. And more than a church thing, I thought it was a Black church thing. But when I was looking up that quote, I was like realizing, oh, it's a poem by somebody. And so the first line of that poem, and it's that person I put in the chat, Brian A. Chalker, with the nickname Drew, that people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. When you figure out which one it is, you'll know what to do for each person. And then the further you go along in that poem, it kind of lines out. This is what you do if this person's in for a reason, and this is for a season. And I was kind of like looking just at the quote itself, reason or a season. So I was just looking at that reason or a season. I didn't even hear about the lifetime. And as I've been deepening my acquaintance and my relationship with seasonal living, like being with the seasons and what they're asking and offering of me, I started kind of feeling into what if the reason is the season? Like there's so many things, and I'm just even thinking about seasons as marks of time in our cycles, with the spring being a beginning, and then the summer being kind of a middle, and then the fall being an ending, and then winter being the finality. And so thinking about that in terms of like how our individual organic bodies operate, having their own rhythms and cycles and seasons, how our lifetime has its own trajectory and season, how our year, our Earth going around the sun has its seasons, how our days have their seasons. So there's so many seasons that are going on. And I was thinking, okay, we might be able to intellectually and cognitively create our own meaning around why something is happening. But what if all of those things that we try to put together are just imaginings on top of the actuality underneath, that it could be a part of the cycle, a part of the rhythm of our lives, the lives that we've created, or the lives that we are just participating in. And so I was just wanting to explore that as we're in the winter heading towards spring. just wanting to explore, how do we operate with the seasons that we were handed? How do we operate with the seasons that are natural? And then how do we operate with the seasons in our lives? And do a little bit of exploration of that.
Oh, wow. This is going to get deep tonight, you guys. This is going to get deep. This is what I love about Mike, you guys, because he is so smart and he's just so deep and he really makes us think. And I think that, I mean, really, truly, I mean, how many of us really think about seasons as pertaining to either our mental wellness, our journey in our lives, the decisions that we make, and how all of these different types of seasons, like Mike just said, play into that. I think it's fascinating. Um, so, um, so I do want to welcome though really quick, you guys, because I do see we've got a lot of new people in the room. You know, I saw you come in, Z and Deanna and Remy and Danielle and Cashiap and Mike and Scott and Elsie again and Catherine, welcome. And the other Catherine. So, so yeah, so oh, and there's Spirit. Hey, Spirit, haven't seen you in a while. Welcome, honey. So, so yeah, so Mike, let's get into that because I mean there are so many different ways we can look at this.
Yeah, there is. And so, like, the one way looking at the season is in the chat. I have there the reason being, just a little short definition being an explanation or a justification. And that was what I was talking about before, just us making meaning around what's happening in our lives or who's happening in our lives. And then the season, we have these associations: winter being cold and dark, spring being warmer and brighter, summer being hot and bright, fall being cooling and darker. And then we repeat that cycle again. And so that's kind of like a basic association that we have with these seasons. To anchor that with what the themes are, like what the seasons are actually, what the organic beings around us. Even if we're not participating in it, the organic beings around us participate in the seasons in their own way. And I've kind of plucked out some themes in that. We can get into that, whether it's later today or in the next one, we can get into those themes. But I wanted to anchor as a person who likes to take all of our intellectualizations and find the rooting in our bodies, is use our breath as an orienter for seasons. So we're going to take a moment to breathe in a seasonally cycled way. How we're going to do this, if you look over in the chat, I just posted breathing cycle as seasonal, an in-breath being spring, holding and pausing in that fullness of our lungs as summer, breathing out as fall, and then pausing when our lungs are empty with winter. Now, I want to speak a little bit about this winter part. The winter part, when we breathe out, whenever we're told to hold our breaths, many of us, probably the vast majority of us, take a breath in to hold it and not necessarily breathe that air out to hold it. How many of us really hold our breaths or pause our breaths at the bottom, when our breath is all the way out? And that's something that you can come up against a couple of discomforts when you get to that place. And you can notice, if you ride that discomfort out, that you can hold your breath with no air in your lungs longer than you think or expect. And so what we'll do is we'll take a breath in, we'll pause at the top, we'll take that breath out, pause at the bottom. And then as we're doing that, we'll just continue doing that, just thinking about the certain things that come to mind with each one of the seasons. So you're breathing in, thinking of spring. And I'll say this during it. I just want to make sure to say it on the front end so we know what we're doing. Breathing in, thinking of the spring, pausing, thinking of the summer, breathing out, thinking of the fall, and then holding that breath when it's all the way out, thinking of the winter. All the things and all the associations that come to mind when it comes to those different seasons. All right. So find yourself in a comfortable place, sitting, laying, standing. And on the count of three, we're just going to all breathe in the same kind of cycle, in the same rate. I know some of us might have shortness of breath or other complications that might not allow you to be alongside all of us. but in the best way that you can for yourself, be in each one of these seasons of breathing. All right. So first, we're going to breathe all of that air out. And now we're breathing in for spring. Pausing at the top for summer. Breathing out for fall. Pausing for winter. In spring. Pause summer. Out fall. Pause winter. In. Pause. Out. Pause. Spring. Summer. Fall. Winter. Now go back to your normal breath. And just even in that, I'm curious about which one of those 4 seasons of breath felt the best to you. Which one was something that you felt some, whether it's relaxation, some calm, some maybe even exciting thoughts, quote unquote positive thoughts. Which one of those seasons was a good one for you?
I'll go.
Yeah, go
I'll
ahead.
go first. So, surprisingly, because I'm a summer person, the winter breath was the easiest for me, and I felt instead of feeling empty and like, like holding it at the end, and which I did, but I felt relaxed and kind of like all of the toxic air was gone. Like I could feel, I guess I was visualizing as with the fall when we were doing the fall breathing out, like the smoky, toxic type of air, like leaving my lungs. And so by the
Mm-hmm.
time I got to the winter breath, it was done and I felt at peace, which
Mm.
it surprised me. It
Yeah.
surprised me because I thought when fall or summer, because I'm a summer girl all the time. And I want to hold on to that breath because I want to hold on to that summer season
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
in every way because so it's the positivity, it's that where everything is going great in our lives, right? All of that. That's what it represents to me, and I wanted to hold that. But it was the winter that I felt the best.
Yeah, and that's an interesting one too, because I see that was it Danielle also? Yeah, Danielle said that the winter was easiest too. And the interesting thing about it is especially working with my own breath and having other folks working with breath around me and with me, that when we're kind of breathing normally, there's not a lot of time that we spend in the winter part of that breath. It's almost like that one is the shortest pause that we have when it comes to breathing, is when all of our air is out, we immediately want to take back in. And it almost mirrors the way that our society, or at least American society, views winter. In the winter is when we have the most do stuff time. We don't allow the winter to be the winter and breathe as winter. Lack of resources, resting, allowing things to die. It's let's have the winter be over with as fast as possible. We'll start it as late as possible and we'll have it end as early as possible. The same way with our breath. So to have you and Danielle just kind of speak to the winter being the easiest speaks a little bit more to what if we actually rested during the winter?
I can't even imagine. because because we put pressure on ourselves because it's all about different holidays and different things or it's we're preparing, right? But it seems like we're always going to the next thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes. exactly that. Go
Z,
ahead,
we
Z.
see your hand up.
Yes, hi Anna, hi Mike. I wanted to
Hi.
hi. This is so cool because I could relate with every breath that I was taking. Usually, I do hold my breath. Mike was saying, I hold my breath and I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop, and I'm just always on the alert for, what could go wrong. But I've been practicing to on getting more and more safe in my body, and this is the first year that I've been allowing myself not to like do too much in the winter, and
Mm-hmm.
actually take the winter and like do the rest, do the clearing of the house, and then come like actually do rest, like do the rest. So when I was doing the breath, the fall felt really good because I was releasing, like the release was feeling good. And right now in the phase of my life, I'm still releasing a lot of that what was, and a lot of the old programming. And when I was doing the fall part of the breath, it felt good. Like I wanted, like it was like so empowering to be at that part of the breath that taking. Whereas the winter, it was like I wanted to make it quick because I like the death, like winter to me is like the death of the leaves and everything. And for me, winter represented the death of the relationship. So it's like I almost want to
Mm-hmm.
like quickly pass that through. Like I didn't want to sit there. And then I realized like, oh yeah, I do tend to do that. I do tend to disassociate when something is uncomfortable, and I do tend to want to like quickly pass over it, or like minimize it, or not even deal with it, whatever that needs to end. And that was really cool to become aware of that. So that was really cool exercise. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that experience of it. I love you being descriptive about each part, and it so much mirrors and parallels our lives when we're really paying attention. Like, oh, we have these life cycles, we have these biorhythms, our relationships have their own life cycle to them, based on what we're willing to put into them and what kind of resources that are being used in it. And so, to hear that you're simultaneously taking the winter for what it is now, and noticing how you've traditionally dealt with winter in your own breath is like this really cool juxtaposition. Thank you, Z. Danielle.
That was awesome. Hi,
Um,
Danielle.
Hi Anna, hi Mike, hi
Hi.
everyone. I guess my experience was a little bit different. But for me, like the outward breath and like, the winter breath was the easiest to sustain for a long period of time. Um, and that like when I'm breathing in, my lungs have that, capacity, and then I'm holding it, and it takes also a lot of effort exhaling again with the capacity. But the winter, I was able to really like sit with that for a while. And so that was, I found to be like the easiest. And then I'm thinking, you got my mind going on this idea of like, well, everything is spring, summer, winter, fall. If I think about like the daytime, like the beginning of the day is the spring, during the day is summer, the fall is
Mm-hmm.
dusk, and night is winter. I also have the easiest time at night, and I am, because of rest, and also just because there's a lot less things I can should myself on. It's like, okay, it's nighttime. You're all right now.
Right.
So that was my experience with it.
Mm. Yeah, I appreciate that. And not only the day, but also the week, right? So we have our
Mm.
Monday, Tuesday, being the spring, and then Wednesday, Thursday being the summer, and then Friday, Saturday being the fall. This just that whole thing, and then even the Sundays being this weird place of, oh, there's spring is coming again, and I haven't really completed all the rest that I needed to in this winter time of the weekend. Hmm.
Never. But it's a
Yeah.
sad, sometimes I think the Sundays are a sad time for a lot of people because it leads into that manic Monday phase and that springtime phase where everything is just kind of manic. But, I just want to piggyback on something because, you know, it makes so much sense about, the life cycle of the day, right? And and I think for a lot of us, a lot of the people that come to the groups, and I definitely want to, acknowledge everybody, Claudia and Chrissy and Barbara and Catherine. I saw you earlier, Helen and Michelle and G and KW and Susan, Stacy and Ashley and everybody else who's joined us and Elsie and, you know, but for a lot of us that come to group, I think is have suffered relationship issues, right? Or grief, which a lot of this is in trauma, right? And they're all interconnected. And I think for a lot of us in the cycle of the day or the week, there are different parts of the day that are easier for us, and then there are different parts of the day that are more difficult. And I think Danielle said it where, it's like, oh, well, nighttime is easier for me, like the winter time. But I know for a lot of people that's difficult because that's when we're not distracted. During the
Yeah.
day, the summer phase, during our day, like you were saying, we're busy. We've got, jobs and kids and, the phone's ringing and social media's going, but at nighttime, it's quiet. It's dark. For some people, it's peace. For some people, it's horrible. I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts about that? Like, I mean, because I think a lot of people in our groups, like we're going through this every day, and there's different parts that we have, like you said, and everybody said, I want to hurry up, like Z said, I want to hurry up and like be done with this, even though
Hmm.
that's where the growing takes place in those certain cycles.
Right. And you said it great. With some people have a difficult time where other people have easier times. And it really is dependent on not only what you've been conditioned to and what you've been socialized to, how you've been socialized to respond to that, that happens inside of you or outside of you, but also where you are even in your own journey. Because, for some folks, the lack of distraction is exactly what they need to be able to feel their feelings. Okay, now all my feelings are going to be showing up because I'm not distracted. And then some of us, oh, that pain is a little bit too much. It was a little bit too overwhelming. So I need distraction for that. So this time that I'm being distracted is better for me. And it's good to just notice. It's really good to notice what it is, how you are responding to that particular time, to the stimulus that you're being given, so that you can know how to work with it. The thing is really wanting to participate with the healing that is naturally in you. The dissociation that can also be naturally in you, that gets practiced and that gets conditioned for more. But there's parts of our system that when things get a little bit too traumatic for us, our system is built for us to be able to distract from it so that it can do its thing and we can be away from it and not being so immersed. So being able to pay attention to how it is that we respond to it, what it is that we like or don't like about it, can help give us some more information on how to participate in our own healing.
Mike, do you have any ideas or suggestions about that? I think the breathing exercise was one perfect example of that because it's something that most of us, we have to have oxygen to breathe, but it's something that we do automatically every day. But so many of the times we don't even realize it, but we hold our breath. And
Mm-hmm.
so that exercise to me is like key. Is something to be aware of. But is there something that we should be doing, or that you can make a gentle recommendation of, some ideas to how we can become more aware of where we're at in our cycle, and
Yeah.
how this is affecting our mind body connection.
Mm-hmm.
It's something we can practice.
Yeah. For those of for a lot of folks that have been going through my arc in these different master classes, I started with Denard. I did a 6-weeker with the Denard, did a 4-weeker with Czar, and now I'm here with this 2 weeks. It really is a continuation of the exact same practice that I do for myself to get me back to me. And what it entails essentially is 3 pauses, 2 minutes, 1 prompt. And so the 3 pauses are just alarms that I put in my phone for the course of a day. I use 10 a.m., 1 p.m., and 4 p.m. just to give myself a morning, an afternoon, and an early evening place. So just kind of spread it out, give it 3 hours apart. And then the 2 minutes is giving myself 2 minutes to pay attention to myself, to pay attention to my thoughts, to pay attention to my body, to pay attention to my breath, to pay attention to my heartbeat, but just to be with that and be anchored in the present with me. That's giving me time with me during a time where usually in the course of a day, we're being distracted, as we talked about. We're doing work for somebody else, or we're doing something for things outside of us. But I'm going to take 2 minutes every 3 hours at least to be able to just tune back into me and not have that whole block of time with me compartmentalized or partially present or anything like that. But I can be fully present with myself for at least those 2 minutes. The one prompt helps with like contextualizing and giving ourselves a smaller place to play in. And usually it's either a question or a prompt. Like a prompt would be like stretch or rock or something that's kind of rhythmic so that you can just kind of know this is the stimulus that's coming. Or it can be a question, which will be a whole nother stimulation. It'll be an intellectual, mental stimulation. If I ask this question, how am I feeling? Or what's happening with me right now and where does that come from? Just something really open so that I can allow all the rest of me to be able to give myself a response. And I'll do that in those 2 minutes. And those 2 minutes can be more than 2 minutes, but I like to give the minimum so that we can at least start somewhere. If I can't make it 2 minutes, then I have a little bit more of a challenge that I need to engage. But at least I have those 2 minutes to just have for me that will help me at least start to have a frame of reference for my sense of self. And then over time, as I do this day after day, because it is a practice, then I'll start noticing patterns. Oh, at the 4 o'clock one, I really don't want to do it. There's something there. Let me look at what all the factors are. Oh, I might eat a big lunch and that makes me really tired. And so by the time 4 o'clock comes, I am just drained of energy. Or anything else of the sort. I can start really paying deeper attention once I get that surface level attention focused on myself.
Excellent. That's great. That's very helpful because it's very practical.
Yeah, and
go ahead. I'm sorry, Mike.
Oh no, it's all right. It's the simplicity of it was something that caught me off guard when I came across like, what do I need to do for me? Because it really just came about with me wanting to do the thing that I tell other folks to do, is like give yourself the gift that you so freely give everybody else. And so once I turned my facilitation in on me, I'm like, okay, what is it that I need to get me back? And what came up was something as simple as possible, because I've been getting so many complex things on how to do this, that, and the other, and then read that, and then put that together with this, and make a plan for that. And it's like, that doesn't work for me. That's never worked for me. The things that work for me are experience. I need to play with something. So I need something to play with. And it was like, okay, let me get myself a container and something to play. And this is what showed up. And it was just so simple. But the more that I started actually doing it, the more I realized, oh, simple doesn't mean easy. And simple doesn't mean that complex things don't happen around that simplicity. The same way that the complexity of each individual person on the planet has this very simplistic skeleton underneath. These skeletons might be simple and similar, but everything else around it, completely different.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, that's so true. But I think sometimes you guys, and what Mike is saying is so relevant, because for so many of us, we get into, we're ordering 17 books and we're doing this and we're doing that and we're getting into this and that practice, and all those things are really great. And I love resources, but I think sometimes, we read one chapter and then we're distracted and we're off to something else, or we get these very complicated scenarios going, and they're going to be very difficult to practice and to do. And I think the key here is, like, I don't know, Mike, you tell me if I'm on the right track, but, is when we follow things that are simple for us to do, whatever that looks like to each of us, I think that you're going to be more consistent in doing it. And the consistency is where the change comes in, because we're practicing those neural pathways, we're practicing new behaviors, we're getting those new patterns established. and we're more likely to stay with them than we are these very complicated things that we make it difficult for ourselves to do. Um, there's a practice that I've done that I started a couple years ago, 3 years ago, and it's something that um, it was about giving gratitude, but it's just an easy practice. Like I found a rock, and every night I would put it on my bedstand, you guys, and I would hold it. Like I would see it on my nightstand, and I would grab it, and I would give thanks for like three things, or like the what was my best part of the day, and I would give gratitude. And I did that so long that I don't need the rock anymore. I didn't need it for a long time, and the practice is still there even without the prompt, and to give gratitude for like what was my best part of my day, even if it was a horrible day. Pick out the best part of the horrible, and it's that because you can't live in the victimology when you're giving gratitude. So I chose to that would be my last thought before I go to bed, and that was my practice, and it was very simple, and it's the one thing that I have been consistent with in doing for
Mm-hmm.
3 years. Yep. So
Yeah.
I don't know, just a little bit of a gentle suggestions throwing out there, you guys. So
Mm-hmm. It's so the key really is accessibility. And whether we're talking about accessibility for humans, or whether we're talking about accessibility for ourselves, the information that we get is, especially nowadays, is so dense. And I feel like the true mark of genius is to make all of those complex and dense things as simple as possible for us, for
mhm,
ourselves to be able to digest. And so, whatever is the simplest version, do that for yourself.
mhm,
And like Anna was talking about, the consistency, it's practice. The reason why we call it practice, we do when we are hit with the fast, the speed, the intensity, the density, and the numbness of our societies and of our interactions, the way we've been taught, we revert to what we've practiced the most. And a lot of what we practice the most has been unhealthy for us. So being able to slow down, stretch out, and feel through ourselves and how we work allows us to practice something different than that. So then we can respond in a different way than the way that we're used to reacting.
beautiful.
Danielle.
I just wanted to say I've been doing this practice for a couple of months, not every day like I should, but I got my alarms going. Um, and I find it to be like far more, I guess, obtainable than meditation for me because, like for me to say, okay, I'm not going to think about anything, that's like, you know, not drinking water or something at some
Uh-huh.
times. And so not having that pressure on me to just, sit there for 2 minutes. And, it started off with like, how am I feeling? What sensations am I feeling in my body? And now I'm like, I can move on a little bit quicker from that. And then just ask myself, what do you need? um, that that sort of shift in focus and in thought has really been like at the I'm getting a little emotional at the center of my healing journey is what do I need, how do I feel, and so it really is a beautiful practice. And all the time when people are like, I can't meditate, I can't, and I'm like, no, you don't need to. Just do this. This is Mike Wells, he's about that, this is what he says. And that's what I do for myself also because it is very helpful.
Mhm. Thank you for that, Danielle. Yeah. I too have had a challenge with meditation and different meditation styles, and I even struggle when some folks when I try to think is like, is what this is a meditation? Because whether it is or not, I know that this works for me, and so no matter what it is that I call it, I hope that it also works for others, and it's so good to hear you, Danielle, say that it does and it has been working for you, and it's not something that's a substitute for. It's a complement to anything else that we're doing and any other resources that we're using. I want to direct folks over to the chat. As many of y'all know, I put questions out for us to consider in each one of my rooms, and this one is no different. And so I've come these some personal pattern questions, really getting into that seasonal piece and thinking about how we repeat things during certain seasons. So questions are, which season is your most favorite? What makes that season your most favorite? Which season is your least favorite? What makes that season your least favorite? What repeatedly happens to you in the spring, summer, fall, winter? And what do you make happen repeatedly in the spring, summer, fall, winter? Now, those last two questions about happens to you and you make happen, it helps to pull apart some of the things that might take place. Some things, that every summer I have to move. Like my parents are taking me away. That's something that's happening to you. And then if you move during the summer, that's something that you are making happen. Oh no, every summer I just choose to go somewhere else. So I'm making that happen. So that's just kind of the differentiation I'm making there. And just even as a little signpost, something that I discovered for me, there was two things. As I was coming up with these questions, I was thinking, oh yeah, for the longest time, when I was living in Seattle from 98 to 2020, my summers were very active, and it had a lot to do with I do contract work, and so I have in the summertime all this. I used to work ropes courses, so all these ropes courses are bustling and open in the summer. So I find myself traveling to different places and connecting with different people in that way. So there was a whole lot of stuff that I was doing over the course of the summer. But then I was talking to my friend earlier today, and he was mentioning that because he just moved recently, that he came across his deed from his last house, and that he had moved from his home that he had with his ex-wife in February of 2017. And now in 2024, he was moving again in February. And so it was this really interesting thing that like a repetition for him. And it made me remember that I have a similar moving pattern, which is in kind of this April, May, June area. Like I did a couple of moves in Seattle in May. And that just kind of tripped a memory like, wow, I'm moving, fresh start. And that's the springtime. That's an interesting little repetition for me to pay attention to. And so that's what those questions are pointing to in terms of what your favorite season is and what you might be doing in that. What makes it your favorite? Is it because you get to do more, or is it because you get to do less, or something else? And what about your least favorite season? And what's your mood like? Do you find yourself repeating a similar mood during that time of year? These are some questions just to kind of orient yourself around. How is it that I operate and respond to these different seasons?
Ooh, lots to think about, you guys.
Has anything come up for you around that, Anna?
I was thinking, I've moved so many times, but I'm thinking emotionally. I was thinking more on an emotional basis for me. Like, what are there things that happen to me emotionally during these seasons more than physically?
Mm-hmm.
Because and the move thing resonates with me, but I moved 7 times in one year, so
Yeah.
it just that didn't even. But for me, the emotionality, I'll tell you what happens to me, a pattern every August. I get very sad. It's my least favorite month, and the pattern started when I was a child of having to go back to school. My
Mm.
summer was over, remember, because I'm a summer person, and so I remember the sadness would come and that anticipatory grief of having to go back to school, even though I did extremely well in school and I enjoyed academics and whatnot. I didn't. There was a sadness, and then as an adult, it's funny because even now I'm, decades out of school, and I still like that anticipation. I can smell it in the air changes, the
Mm-hmm.
autumn, even though I live in the South and it's like, it's hot here. But now for me, what comes up is same thing. My dad passed away in August. My favorite
Mm,
person, he was my person. And so now that time of year has an even more profound effect on me. And then it passes because you guys, September's my birthday. So hey, it's the most important, it's the best part of the year. But I know every year that's coming, no matter what I do, and of course I weather through it. It's not like it's crippling me, but it's something I'm very aware of and I pay very close attention to that time of year. And it
yeah.
happens every year.
And that makes me curious. And if we had more space in our conversation, I would even be asking into if that can even mark the end of a cycle and the beginning of a cycle. So you have your birthday, and your birthday
Mm-hmm.
being like your spring, and then
Yep.
this like your summer, which is your favorite time of year, is like really your personal emotional winter, where you just get to
Could
rest,
be.
and your rest is being so happy and joyous because that's just your normal state, and then that rest is going to be over, and so that's where yeah. So I'm just right now my
That's
mind
be
is
oh,
just
it's oh my God, that's I know. Like now I've got to think about this, you guys. Like this is so deep. It's my God. Okay, yeah, you're totally hit on something. Okay, but okay, I'm gonna think about that while you go to the next people. And I just want to make sure that everybody knows that you guys, G, I see you, and Melissa and Roman and Lily and Wendy and Raquel. Oh, and Renee is back in the house, and Chrissy's here. So you guys, especially a big welcome to all of our new people. But okay, go back. Go ahead, Mike. I'm
oh
turning it back
yeah.
to you.
And if y'all haven't checked out yet, over in the chat, we have some orienting questions, and then up further, some more points that I had hit along the way. So we'll start with Kelly, and then we lost the last person, but we'll go to the
Hey,
next.
what, don't be taking your hand down. But I was like, Catherine, don't, no, no, you don't get away from that easily, Miss Catherine. Don't be thinking you're going to sneak out.
Hi
Hey,
Anne.
Kelly.
How are you guys
Hi,
doing?
honey.
So I don't know, this is kind of off topic, but when you or Mike, when you mentioned that you used to live in Seattle, I smiled because I live in Washington State. I'm a Washingtonian, and I used to love going up to Seattle. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that real
Yes.
quick. And then I guess to answer the questions, which season is my most favorite? Um, I would honestly say like it used to be the fall because I used to love wearing like cozy clothes and stuff and cozy fabrics and things like that. And but you know what? I started to really enjoy like when springtime would show up. Like I can't remember when that started happening. I know it was like the last several years, but like long, brutal winters um, have just kind of taken its toll on me within the last few years. And I have just been really excited for spring. And like with all the new, like, things in nature coming up, like leaves coming back and just different like flowers and different like wild plants coming up and regular plants, landscaping coming back to life and all of that. And just
Yeah.
noticing nature. I think that's one of my favorite things to do now is to notice nature and
Hmm.
enjoy it. Um, and then what makes this season my most favorite? I would just say opportunities for growth and renewal, um, and observing like nature. And obviously, even we can do the growth and renewal of ourselves in the spring too. Because I know like with the spring cleaning, people kind of have that tradition, and that's cool. So yeah, that's my thing.
That's really cool. As you've been appreciating spring more, was your appreciation for fall still the same, or was that diminishing as more of your appreciation for spring was coming up?
That's a good question. I think a lot of my appreciation for the fall was like fashion wise, like being able to wear my
Mm,
sweaters again and stuff like that. I think it
uh-huh.
was more superficial, like when I was younger. But like I feel like I don't probably even since the pandemic, like I think the way I look at things, particularly like being cooped up in the house,
Hmm.
which also coincided with me like taking care of my mom and also having to be cooped up in the house.
Right.
I feel like I didn't wasn't able to like wear my fall clothes for quite a while. Wasn't able to really wear my winter clothes. I was just always indoors, except for when I went to get the mail or take the garbage out or maybe like to the Bible study or to like grocery shopping or whatever
Hmm.
during that time. But yeah, yeah, I really need to work on renewing my appreciation for fall again for more for deeper reasons this time and not just like being able to wear like fall clothes, but actually appreciate appreciating the season and the
Yes.
fact that it's a cycle. Like life is a cycle, nature's a cycle, our lives are a cycle, and just
Hmm.
the awareness of that all has had like a profound effect on me, a positive effect, and just being able to reflect on life, and not just live life on the surface, but live life more, I guess, with meaning and observation and, feeling things deeper and
Yes.
experiencing things like in a way that I hadn't before. So I think all of those things have really come to my awareness within the last several years. And probably it started when my mom became unwell and I
Hmm.
had to take care of her. I started to think more, what can I do for myself to really set things up for when she's not here anymore? You know, um, and I really never got a chance to really do that at that time. But after the fact, after she passed, I was able to then begin to work on that little by little.
Hmm.
Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
just like talking and talking, but
Oh no,
yeah.
but I hear you. It's right there in line. It's this the trajectory that you were talking about from the superficial appreciation of a season, as something separate from you, was something to to put your armor on against, versus appreciating what's possible in the actual season of spring, and then being able to take that all the way to the rest of them. The same way that you couldn't do this thing about preparing with your mom, you can do
Yeah,
that for yourself. How am I
yeah,
going to make sure that I participate the most in
mhm,
this life that I have? Thank you,
definitely.
Kelly.
Thank
All right, Catherine.
I was just going to say that spring is my favorite season, but ironically, it's also when I've been most depressed. So it's a little strange. Um,
Okay.
I love spring because I like how things are coming back to life and the weather's warmer and I don't know, it just seems to be things are just coming alive. But I've always been the most depressed in the spring. I think because things are coming alive and I've never been able to enjoy it, or at least I wasn't then. Um,
Hmm. What was
but I,
preventing you from
yeah,
enjoying it?
I still have a little bit of trouble in spring, but it's weird.
Do you have a sense of what had you not be able to appreciate the things coming back?
Just that I was just so severely depressed. Now I still get mood swings in the spring that bring me down a little bit, but nothing like what it used to be.
Yeah. Whew. Something to dig into a little bit more. Thank you, Catherine. Stacy. If you're talking, Stacy,
You there, girl?
Sorry about that.
There you go.
Yes.
I was going to say my most difficult season is winter, and it's always during. It's not completely winter because, first of all, I live in Texas, and so we just have a short. I'm down in Houston. We have a short winter, I guess, in January, but so I guess if I want to peel the onion back a little bit, it's really the time of year between Christmas and probably mid January 15th. And I know it's relatable to holidays and things, traumatic experiences that have happened during the holidays. And I've never celebrated as an adult. And the new year coming in, I isolate. And I know I really want to try to reframe my thoughts around that. But I usually beat myself up every New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, because instead of reframing as a new year, I always get depressed because I think of things of how I don't always think negatively like this, but I think during that time period, I think of my life isn't how I had planned it, even though I firmly believe that, that we are on a road for a reason. But I do get down on myself a lot during that time of the year. And one of the things this year has been extremely hard because, we talked about a lot of us are here healing from relationships, and I've been healing from a relationship, the end of a relationship since last May. And one of the things that I did is totally kept myself distracted. Getting outdoors a lot, which I know is good and healthy, but I would keep going because the grieving cycles just really, really scared me. How I felt. Yeah. So the grieving cycles would pop up and they would get less intense. Well, I had a little bit of a routine I set for myself. Before I even would get out of bed, I would read some passages and an email that I get, and do some breathing, and I get up and get my coffee, and I would sit down and write my gratitude journal. And that's what really helped me over the last year. Well, at Christmas time, I totally derailed from that and stopped doing any of my disciplined regiment that was helping me. And then, so I got through the holidays and I was starting to get out and walk a little bit and everything. And then, well, and I know people have heard me say this in other groups, but I got shingles. And then on top of shingles, I got COVID. So I've been sitting here for 4 months, and I have grieved more than I have grieved in with my feelings this last month, more so than I have in the past year. It's been hard to distract. And one thing I did today that was very interesting to me is I got my gratitude journal out and I read every single page of that gratitude journal that I wrote since last May, and it helped me tremendously. And I think I'm back. I'm gonna be headed in the right direction again, but it just I don't even know how I made it through, but somehow I did. By the grace of God, I made it through my hard period and then getting sick, and I'm just looking to better days ahead. And I really did feel like I needed that time to really grieve and sit with my feelings.
Yeah, it's totally exactly that. I mean, it's interesting that our being will call us to our attention to what needs to be taken care of. And you were describing it perfectly in terms of like distracting yourself by doing something that's healthy for you, but still you knew you were distracting yourself, and then your whole body being like, okay, you know what? We're going to make sure to use this winter time. And I want to remind everybody, we are still in winter, even if, where your climate isn't necessarily that. We're still necessarily reflecting the cold and dark. It's still the time of resting and releasing. It's still the time to grieve. It's still the time to let go. And so you getting that opportunity is a beautiful thing. And even like that quote unquote, that kind of supernatural thing of you doing a quote unquote weird thing of reading your gratitude journal is like your momentum of doing that carried you through. And this is where it was a reminder of all of that momentum that you did create.
Yeah. I was just in awe. I was like, oh my gosh. And I realized that the journey's been a journey, and it's been hard and beautiful at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Stacy.
Thank
you.
you.
Beautiful. You guys, thank you so much. Go ahead, Mike. Take us out.
Yeah, I just want to mention, Stacy had said something just kind of like about the end of the year, and I was saving this for the next time, but I wanted to kind of give you a little coming attraction to it. In the chat, I put there the yearly cycling that we have and that we do. So we have the societal one that is built around the calendar and the clock, and then we have this biological one that's built around the seasons and the sun. And so much of our winter, what we could do in winter for rest and release, gets a little bit short-circuited by this tick of the calendar. The tick of the calendar, then we have to make resolutions to do something different. Put all of your energy and resource into making something happen during a time where we're not supposed to be making things happen. We're supposed to be allowing release to happen. And so that can mess with us. That can fuck with us pretty good with, I'm in a season of release, but society is telling me to start. And that's a little bit off. That dissonance will mess with us.
Very good point. All right. You guys are going to pick it up there next week. Mike will be back with us. This was a really interesting conversation. It was so deep. I mean, now I have a lot to think about, you guys. So get ready for next week. We'll be back. Mike will be taking us, deeper into this conversation. And you guys, I just want to, send you big hugs and lots of love and light and positivity and rest and peace. Mike, thank you so much. I mean, you just brought such a great perspective to this topic, something that we've never even really touched on at all.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh my God, this has been so interesting. Now, you guys really start thinking about this and some things that we can do and, putting our awareness together, because we can't have change without awareness. So, Mike, thank you for bringing the awareness to us tonight.
Well, you're very welcome. And just as we head out, just a reminder that, like Anna was saying in the very beginning, after that breathing exercise, that we have that breath we have access to. So we can contemplate about the seasons by using that seasonal breath. In spring, hold summer, out fall, hold winter.
Beautiful, you guys. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, guys. We'll see you. Some of you, I'll see you at Trauma Group. Check out Mike's rooms. He does a bunch of amazing rooms. And we will be back here next Monday to continue this conversation with Mike Wells.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.